Hi, my name is Leah Day, and today I'd like to share with you a little bit about the Supreme Slider, one of my favorite tools for machine quilting. So here's what the Supreme Slider looks like when you get it. It's in this piece of paper and it has some quilting diagrams to help you practice some cute quilting designs. And here is the slider itself. You're going to have one side that is off-white and very slippery feeling. The other side is pink and it's slightly grippy. It's not sticky like a sticker. It's not going to leave any kind of residue on your machine. It's just grippy, kind of like the ends of rubber gloves is really what it feels like. So I'm going to take it off of the packaging and slide it onto my machine. And what I'm doing is just lining up the center hole in the slider with the needle hole on my machine. Now, if your machine is really, really narrow, you might be tempted to cut the slider, but I'd encourage you to instead just rotate it so that way it fits on your machine in the opposite direction, and that's fine too. The purpose of this tool, it's really awesome. What it does is it reduces the friction between the back of your quilt and the surface of the machine bed. So it just makes your quilt so much easier to move and slide around in free motion. Now you might be wondering about the feed dogs. What about, this slider is covering up those feed dogs. Won't that cause some problems? And the answer is no. Many people drop their feed dogs. I leave my feed dogs up, but I dial my stitch length down to 0. And what that does is it ensures that the feed dogs are only moving up and down very gently. It will kind of chew on this area after some time. Usually I can notice after about a year or so, I might have a little bit of chewing on the back or bottom, but it's not going to be enough to damage the slider. So that's how I use this for free motion quilting. I also use this for walking foot quilting. And for that, I'm going to shift the slider off to the side so that it's completely off the feed dogs. And the reason we do that is because a walking foot, of course, uses these feed dogs and it puts a lot more pressure down onto the quilt, and that could definitely rip a hole in your slider. So this is how I position it for walking foot quilting. And one good idea for both forms of quilting is to tape down the edges of the slider using masking tape. And the reason is when you've got a really big, heavy quilt on the machine, it's really easy for it to lip up and you accidentally stitch through it. And that will ruin this. It's a very delicate tool. So just be sure especially when you're first getting used to using it, tape it down so it stays nice and secure. Now you might be thinking that machine quilting is the only thing that you can do with this, but I actually discovered another use. Another way I like to use it is to position it about right here. So it's kind of covering up the front of my machine and a little bit into the needle area. It's covering up my bobbin area. It's not a big deal. I can still access that area and change my bobbin, no big deal. But it's just creating a slippery surface to make machine piecing that much easier. So I would change, of course, to a piecing foot, and then my pieces would be so much easier to slide right into the machine, and it just makes chain piecing that much faster. So those are the ways that I like to use the Supreme Slider. I find this to be an absolutely essential tool for machine quilting and now for piecing too. Definitely pick up your Supreme Slider today at leahday.com.